get to the bag, ayy. Got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when the lane moving fast, ayy. Let them all cross. If they hate, then let them hate and make a bigger boss, ayy.
Hey guys, before we jump into the episode, I wanted to let you know it is brought to you by the NMFTA. Let me ask you a question. Do you ship LTL freight? Then listen up, because the NMFC changes went live on July 19th, and they're the biggest updates in the history of freight classification. Now more than ever, accuracy matters. That's why carriers, shippers, and brokers alike are turning to Class IT Plus, the NMFTA's new digital platform for real-time NMFC data. Stop guessing, start classifying smarter, and quote freight with confidence. It's time to get your ship together because the NMFC changes are already here. Learn more at nmfcchanges.com and get started with Class IT Plus at classitplus.com. Just do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. This episode is brought to you by SPI Logistics, the premier freight agent logistics firm in North America. For over 40 years, SPI has been diligently building the most successful freight agent network to provide first-class relationships for our shippers, receivers, and carrier partners. We are more than another transportation network. We are a dedicated team of professionals united by one singular purpose, and that is to expedite our agents' success. All of our agents are set up for success on day one, as they are provided with a full suite of support staff that is ready to assist them with everything from after-hours emergencies to financial and administrative needs on a no-fee basis. This way, you can focus on continuing to grow your business. There is no financial risk to start, and you have the ability to earn up to 75% in commissions. If you are looking to take control of your financial future and build your business with the backing of one of the most successful logistics firms in North America, visit www.spi3pl.com to learn more. Do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I do say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, you guys, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Happy Hump Day, Corey Buchan over on YouTube. And we got a very special solo show for you guys here today. Your boy's just going to be breaking down some actual headlines here and giving you guys my perspective on a lot of the stuff that's going on out there. But my team, one quick thing, my team always likes to remind me of this. I got to bring this up at the beginning of the show. If you get value in what you hear today, which I'm sure you will, and you're not subscribed, and due to our data, it shows about 60% of you who tune into the show every single day haven't hit that subscribe button. So if you want to do your boy a solid, hit subscribe. And if you're feeling really ambitious, rank the show on iTunes and Spotify, because if you see value, your network's going to see it as well. And then one more quick thing, you guys. Freight Coach newsletter dropped this morning. Again, if you want to sign up for it, I need you to go to my website. It'll auto-register for you to do that. I don't email collect. I frankly don't even know where any of this stuff is stored. And if I have your email address, I'm not going to auto-sign you up for anything, because I want you to want me to send you this weekly newsletter. But with all that being said, you guys, a lot of talk out there on social media world on what is going on in freight. Sonny Sharma, good Hump Day morning orange shirt, gang. Dude, and I'm wearing the black polo. I'm wearing the black Freight Coach Logistics polo today. There's a lot of talk on social media right now about what's going on out there in the market and how are things finally turning. And, there's a lot of stuff that comes at people on any given daily basis. And, I'm on social media, but I'm not on social media because, frankly, I cannot tolerate reading a lot of the opinions that are out there by people who aren't even moving freight at the end of the day. And, there's just such a vast difference between what it used to be like. And that's where a lot of individuals are from their stances. So it used to be like this. It's not that way anymore at all. It's a market that I have never seen at the levels that I'm at right now. But, there are so many similarities that are out there. And, frankly, I think this is just kind of like a societal issue at this point. People just want to spew out their opinions. They don't want to hear anything contradictory to what they're saying because they just want to be the first one to talk about it. They don't necessarily care about being right. Just take everything that I say on this show, you guys, as like, I'm not trying to sell you guys shit at the end of the day. All right. Like, I'm not trying to sell you guys any product. I'm just telling you what I do inside of my actual freight brokerage and how I actually develop business, because like I actually move freight every single day. I'm cold calling every single day. I'm doing all of this stuff with you. Okay. So like, I don't have anything that I'm like, again, I don't even know how my weekly email thing works. My team handles that stuff. So I'm just out here trying to give you guys my perspective on the market and what's going on from my seat. And, rest assured, you guys, like, I have everything banking on my opinion being right here. And I say that because like I'm self-funding all of my stuff. All right. So I have a lot on the line with a lot of the information that I put out here, because like, this is the stuff that I actually apply inside of my business. And, frankly, you guys, I've grown year over year for the last 3 years. We grew 76% from 24 to 25. And I don't say that in a bragging term. I say that because like, I apply what I preach in my business, and clearly it works out there. But I also have come to the realization that I don't know everything. I want to hear multiple talking points on situations. Some of my best friends that I have out there, we disagree on a lot of stuff, but we also agree with the fact that like our intent is to help improve each other. It's not you're right, I'm wrong, anything like that. There's no way for us to try and get a leg up on anybody. That's not what, and I think like we need to open up our perspectives and surround ourselves with individuals that might have contrasting viewpoints on stuff than you. And it's either going to help improve your opinion or solidify your opinion, right? Because we don't all have it all figured out. And I think like there's just a lot of talking points out there on social media in regards to freight right now. It's a lot of people who just want to be the first to report on it. They're not necessarily concerned about being right. Their mind's already made up that they're right. And it doesn't matter what you say, you're going to be wrong if you disagree or bring up any other valid points or anything like that. So, frankly, at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you guys what I think what's going on from somebody who actually does the job that they talk about every single day on this show. So if we're looking at the overall, and I know that last week there was a lot of stuff being talked about with trucks kind of being parked. There was a lot of things all over social media about, in the Chicago market alone, how, a bunch of drivers didn't show up to work and everything. And there was a little short-term blip. And when I say short-term blip, I mean, everybody thought that the market was going to improve. There was a couple of screenshots out there how this load paid $1,000 last week and now it's paying $2,000 this week and everything's fine and gravy and everything else. And frankly, that was short-lived, because I don't know if enough people understand how much excess capacity is in the market right now and how much capacity needs to either leave or how much freight volumes need to increase to actually balance that out and bring an equilibrium, which would change anything long-term. There's going to be a lot of short-term improvements and drops in the market if you look at it over the year. And the problem that I see out there is people are chasing that headline and they're hoping that the boogeyman goes back in the closet and everything's going to be all right. And everybody's just going to go back to be, making millions of dollars every transaction, because I think like that somehow is the expectation. And I am 1000% being sarcastic there. But I go, and this is how I'm reading the market, you guys. I view from multiple data points. I don't have an official data partner for the show yet, but that's probably going to be changing here pretty soon. Sit back and relax. You'll see. But I look at it so one of the headlines out there from one of the data points that I use, rates strengthened despite seasonal volume declined out there. Freight volume softened in September and early October. Van loads were down anywhere from 3 to 16%. Reefer loads were down anywhere from 7 to 18%. Flatbed was up slightly, but national spot rates rose modestly across all segments. Rate gains were driven by capacity imbalances and enforcement-related tightening out there, not higher freight demand. So again, you're going to see that. There's people out there who are arguing that freight rates aren't going up at all. Now, technically, if you look at the data over the year, they are rising. It's just not at a number that some of you want to see. All right. So again, you can't argue that rates aren't technically improving throughout the year because the data says that they are. It's just not at the level that you want to see. Therefore, you think it's wrong. So if we're looking at it, spot and line haul rates show gradual upward momentum, Van was anywhere from $2.05 to $2.07 a mile. Reefer was $2.44 a mile up, and that was up 3 cents month over month. And then vans, were up 2 cents. At that flatbed was $2.44 to $2.50 a mile, and that was up 1 cent month over month with strong regional surges out there. And then again, you guys, these are rates including fuel out there. And then contract rates were mixed. Tight capacity out there, it mirrored road check effects out there, and posts fell. Load posts fell while truck posts dipped out there, signaling a tighter capacity environment in specific markets that were out there. And then border and produce freight pressures, immigration enforcement out there at the southern border tightened reefer capacity as some drivers avoided affected areas. Nogales, El Paso, and McAllen saw strong reefer demand out there. So, overall summary, the U.S. truckload market saw softening freight volumes, but firm to rising spot rates that were out there. The increased stem from regional capacity shortages, enforcement impacts, and freight imbalances, and positioning the market for potential volatility as the peak season approaches. So again, you see a lot of this. You don't want to rush to judgment in any way, right? Because again, I take the stance of I like to wait a couple of days because I know at the end of the day, there's going to be some things that are going to happen. There's a lot of parallels, you guys, to what's happening right now for major weather events. All right. You know how capacity tightens up in specific areas when there's a hurricane going through, but then the next week, it all starts to balance back out. I kind of feel like that's what is going on out there in the market, but there's a lot of people clinging to it because there's a lot of click heavy headlines that you see out there that you can kind of make your content seem a lot cooler than it actually is. Another data source that I use every single day to make decisions inside of my brokerage talked about reefer rate. Again, they said reefer rates rose 2% or 2 cents, their highest in 4 weeks, and they are up 4.5% year over year, despite being below the 7-year average. So again, rates have risen out there. Again, just not at the level that you want. Dry van rates fell out there 4 cents. And then loads dropped 11%, but remains slightly up. Flatbed is steady out there. And as somebody who 99% of the time is moving their freight via flatbed, because that's what we specialize in, rates are steady. All right. They're steady out there and they're starting to dip because of seasonality of it. All right. Half of the country is going to be blanketed with snow here in the next 30 days. Sorry, upper Midwest. But that's what's going to happen. And then reefer rates flatbed rates are going to drop out there. The market demand, it was down. But it was lowest. And again, it was talking about capacity is now loosening compared to what it was last week when capacity tightened up. So again, 2 different data sources telling the exact same story. All right. So you can draw different parallels from this. And I'm going to break down some articles here next to you guys that are going to kind of back up a lot of this. But a lot of what I'm seeing out there, I would equate to what we saw last week as a seasonal storm that caused a tightening of capacity out there in the market. Now, could this continue? Yes, it very well could continue out there. But I look at it like this. So I think that, again, people are looking for any hope out there. And again, I see both perspectives out there from the people who are talking about the market on every single day. Right. But I look at it like this. I'm going to tell you guys exactly how a freight market recovery is going to work, because I feel like a lot of people from their seat are looking at it as how do I, the individual sales rep, gain more customers? Because a lot of people's business development has been stagnant and below and is down overall. Right. What I'm about to say is probably going to piss a lot of people off because the way that this is actually going to happen. All right. So you got to look at every customer you're actively moving freight with right now. You're probably not their top provider in that, right? Maybe you've only been working with them for a couple of years or, a couple of months or whatever that looks like. There's a lot of lanes that you're not getting access to. And you got to look at it like the priority of a waterfall. And if you've ever moved RFP freight before, you know that there's a waterfall. You have your primary, secondary, tertiary, so on and so forth, and all the way down that comes along with it. So the way that this is going to go from a provider's perspective, say capacity does tighten up and that's going to continue to happen. Say that does happen. Does that mean that there's going to be a ton of more opportunity for you to develop new business out there? Probably not, because not every provider in their network is not going to be able to know how to operate in a tight capacity market. There's a lot of individuals out there like myself who've seen tight markets before. We've seen carrier markets before. We've seen rates rising out there from the carrier side, because customers aren't going to willingly increase their transportation spend here, you guys, if capacity tightens up. Brokers will get squeezed over the next 6 to 8 months if this happens. And again, asterisk, if this happens. So you got to look at it. It's going to go to that waterfall effect, right? Like all of a sudden, if you're down on that list, you're going to start seeing more opportunities, right? So all of your sales efforts, yes, they are required. Yes, they are beneficial, but they might not bear fruit for the time being, you guys, because the current network that they're working with very well could handle any additional volume that comes their way. I know my operation can. I know there's a lot of people's operations that can do it, right? So again, I'm not trying to be the bearer of bad news. I'm just trying to let you know how a market shift is going to actually work for you guys. And I'm trying to again, this is how it is going to go down. All right. This is how it's gone down for me in the past. And this is how I foresee it going down, right? Because one of the biggest things that's happening out there in the industry is freight theft and everything else. Like there's a lot of external factors that are going to, I think, minimize shippers, manufacturers, and customers, we'll call them, desire to onboard new providers in the foreseeable future. And again, that affects my business because I'm out here trying to develop new business just like you guys are, but it's going to take some time, right? And that doesn't matter unless there is a million trucks that are removed from the road, you guys. There isn't any foreseeable wrench that is going to be thrown into things that is going to all of a sudden open up the floodgates of freight out there. I think that it's way too early to tell. I think that people are emphasizing on breadcrumbs to try and, gain some traction out there in whatever business that they're trying to do it on. But, if capacity leaves at a very, very high rate, then the door will open up for new business opportunities. But if it doesn't, if it's a slow trickle out effect here, you guys, which it probably will be, their current network is probably going to sustain any meaningful changes out there for the next 6 to 8 months. And that is if anything like that happens. So again, I'm just speaking from my standpoint of somebody who's operating in the market, who's operated through market shifts before, and who's seen capacity come and go and seen a lot of these headlines that come out there. There is always opportunity, though. And before we get into these articles, I want to leave you guys with that. There's always opportunity out there. You need to build a system around it and continue to push to develop new business and keep your pipeline full. All right. That's an area that admittedly we weren't the best at, but we are improving upon that and we are making that out there. So again, all the data points from the large companies that are out there, you guys, they're all saying the same stuff and you can draw anything from it. But at the end of the day, you guys, I think that I would equate everything that we've seen over these last couple of weeks to a longevity of a seasonal storm, and the capacity will eventually rebalance out, and it's seemingly already doing it out there in the market. And the first article we're going to talk about talks about this, and this is from FreightWaves, and it's Cass reports a truckload bounce. Recovery timeline is still uncertain. And then September, it said that multimodal shipments index rebounded 2.5% sequentially. However, on a year-over-year basis, shipment volumes remain negative. The bounce was led by volume share gains, truckload volume share gains at the expense of less than truckload shippers. All right. And that's because shippers appear to be consolidating smaller loads into full truckloads to take advantage of those still depressed rates. And if you're not doing that as a sales rep, you guys, let me tell you about partial truckloads on a future episode. You can combine, because again, that's how full truckload guys compete with LTL. You could take 2 LTL, volume LTL shipments, combine it into a 1-pick, 2-drop full truckload, and you could save your customer some serious cash at the end of the day if you want to go out there and do that. Give me 2 seconds. Sorry, guys, because I'm actually moving freight. I just got hit from a customer. See, guys, I'm not just looks here. But anyways, and then caution on the nature of the durability of the bounce. The truckload bounce is largely mix driven rather than a genuine demand recovery out there. Some of the uptick is pre-tariff front loading because we all know what's going on out there with tariffs right now, and people are kind of changing things from that perspective. And then still cloudy. The outlook is still cloudy, but with some upside constrained out there. And despite improving rate metrics, the article and related CAS commentary stress that the overall freight market remains elusive. CAS forecast October volumes will remain down out there. A further constraint immigration and the driver licensing enforcement changes could squeeze capacity out there. All right. So again, CAS index, you guys, I've had CAS on the show. They got a lot of information going through their stuff. And if that's their report, again, something to pay attention to. But again, it's still too early to tell. You don't want to make any drastic moves out there. And let's see in all right, yeah, that's it for that article. You guys check that out on freightwaves.com. CAS reports truckload bounce recovery timeline is still uncertain. And then the reason why a lot of this is, and this was one of those talking points, is the non-domiciled drivers out there. And then overdriveonline.com put out an article. Non-domiciled drivers are a nuclear verdict waiting to happen. And give me just 1 second here. I lost my notes. Come on now. Here we go. All right. So the scope of the regulation and the affected driver population that's out there, the DOT and the FMCSA rule is intended to overhaul how states issue non-domiciled CDLs. And that is obviously drivers who do not permanently reside here in the United States. Under the new rule, many existing non-domiciled CDLs may become invalid or be revoked upon review or renewal. The FMCSA projects that out of roughly 200,000 non-domiciled CDLs, about 194,000 of them might lose eligibility under the stricter standards over time. The pool of affected drivers is non-trivial. Estimates suggested that more than 60,000 non-domiciled CDLs are currently active across many states out there. And then this isn't just a niche regulatory tweak. It could materially shrink the labor pool in segments of the trucking industry or force rapid reconfiguration of driver headcounts. But, you know, again, it's like I see that data point, and then I look at the amount of CDL holders that are out there with for trucks. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. It's like 3 million of them, and then we're talking about 200,000. And again, I think like it's very important to delineate the difference between the people who are here under non-domiciled that are here legally and the ones who are breaking the law, because I don't know, this might come as a newsflash to some people. Criminals don't care about the law. They're going to continue to break it no matter what. I know you might need to sit down after hearing that, but that is going to continue to happen no matter what any administration puts in place for this, because I know it's tough to swallow, but criminals don't care about the law. So with that being said, the industry ripple effect, removing, say 200,000 drivers are removed. That's 5% of the CDL pool. It could tighten supply out there, especially in regions. But that capacity, if this does happen, that spot rates are going to end up firming up. And my honest stance is if, say, this count is accurate and these individuals should not be driving. And again, I made my stance clear a while ago. If you're a non-domiciled CDL driver and you filled out all the proper paperwork in accordance to the Department of Transportation, the FMCSA, and you're here operating legally, more power to you. All right. As long as you're holding and being held to the exact same standards that I am as a business owner here in the United States and everybody else, more power to you, right? Again, don't hate the player, hate the game, as 90s rap I was used to say. You know, again, you want to change some of that. The people who are out here who are pissed off that there's non-domiciled CDL drivers driving down the road, I think that you need to do a better job of being clear of the ones who are doing it right because there's nothing wrong with that, and the ones who aren't doing it right because they're technically not a non-domiciled CDL driver if they're not following the law. They're here illegally and operating illegally. So I think it's important to make that point. But states with higher constraints or concentrations of non-domiciled CDL holders might face bigger disruptions, i.e. California and Texas. Those are the two largest states out there that are talking about that. Some of the industry already signal support for stricter controls or restrictions. Both the American Trucking Association and the TIA have strongly backed stronger credentials. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. I went to public school and I kind of bounce around a little bit here. And then carriers may need to recalibrate recruiting, retainment, and pricing strategies in anticipation out there. Again, I look at it is like we do need stricter standards out there, right? Like, I think we've gotten to the point where, like, if we have these rules, they need to be enforced. There should be no loopholes, right? Like, there should be no gray area when it comes to any laws that are on the books. No state, if there's a federal rule that is in place, and we'll talk about non-domiciled CDLs on this show because we talk about trucking on this show. I am not here to talk left and right on this show, at least on today's show. But if there's rules in place and say there's states that don't have to follow said rules, that's pretty messed up, right? And I just want to see a set standard out there. And I hope Secretary Duffy does something about it to put these in place to ensure all 50 states are operating at the exact same standard. And then there's not one state that can do something one way and another one in another way, which causes all of this stuff, right? So I think, like, standards are a good thing. They're a very good thing, and they need to be continued to be upheld. There should not be any gray area that's out here. If you are operating in an illegal and unsafe manner, you should not be operating on the road. It's as simple as that, right? Like, I don't understand the debate that kind of comes along and comes down with a lot of this stuff. And then I look at it as strategic and long-term adoption of a lot of this because, unfortunately, people aren't just going to like miraculously become compliant if they're not already, because like I said, you guys, criminals don't care about the law. But for those individuals out there, mistakes happen, right? Maybe you didn't file a proper piece of paperwork and you should have, and now you're aware of it and you're doing the right thing. It looks at it as this might cause a capacity constraint out there in the market, depending on how many trucks are actually running down the road right now. And if that fear, hopefully the actual enforcement of this stuff to ensure, because like I look at it like this, I drive around every single day with my driver's license. I have my vehicle registration. I have my insurance in the cab of my truck. I have all proper documentation in my truck, and I'm a U.S. citizen. And I feel like everybody should have that. And you should be willing to show that anytime you're stopped by the authorities and stuff like that. So I look at it as if this enforcement, because I've seen videos out there about, at rest areas and scale houses and stuff like that. If you're doing everything right, you got nothing to worry about. So I look at it as like, this is a very net positive for the industry because we want people who are operating their businesses in the right manner to be driving down the freeway, right? Like, we want safer roadways. We want a lot of this. And I look at it from this perspective. If you are going to lie about or, not have the right stuff in your business, what else are you lying about, right? You're probably not doing your PM checks on your truck. You're not probably doing your pre and post trip inspections. You're probably not doing a lot of stuff. Hell, you're probably not even paying for insurance, right? Like, it's the trickle down effect of this. Standards are a good thing, you guys. Standards are a very good thing, and they need to be upheld. They need to be administered and applied out there, and they need to be enforced. Because I look at it I'm not asking for an easier path in business. I'm just looking for an equal opportunity that I'm entitled to. I don't want anybody to have any shortcuts. All right. Because I never had any shortcuts. So nobody else deserves any shortcuts, in my opinion. And these rules that are in place, these standards that are in place, they need to be enforced and they need to be upheld. Because at the end of the day, our industry is better for it. All right. Might suck to hear it for some people, but it's the truth. So that article, you guys, and then again, Alex Lockheed does a really good job. Still trying to get him on the show, Alex. If you're listening to this, you got to come on. But that article, again, it was from Overdrive Online, non-domiciled CDL drivers, a nuclear verdict waiting to happen, said legal alert. And, and then we don't have time to get into the last article, but it was, about how cargo theft costs trucking firms $18 million daily and how it is a highly organized industry now. You guys, that article was from ttnews.com. That came out the other day. And I would highly recommend you guys all read it. And then you got to look at it like this. All commodities are potentially affected here. And as a service provider, whether you're a trucking company or you're a broker, you need to look at your customers' freight. And you need to look at some of these things and try and bring up any potential vulnerabilities that might be out there, because the majority of this freight that is stolen is gone before people even realize it's stolen. And if you are shipping a commodity that might be at risk, it's just a good conversation to have with your customers. You guys put an action plan in place, work with them. How do we protect their freight? All right. Because I think anytime a criminal finds a vulnerability and they can exploit it, I think a lot of it is it's overblown on how complex it is to fix it. I think that the majority of people, I think a couple of key tweaks inside of their operation could severely reduce it. Again, I could be wrong, but I've moved high value freight before. I know the added security measures that are in place. I know the steps that we had to follow every single time we'd move some of those loads. And I feel like some of these other commodities that are out there that are being stolen right now, they could probably use that to deter a lot of it. But check that article out, you guys. That was on ttnews.com. And Jake Peterson, sorry, I was on a roll there, you guys. The people who don't even move freight, that hits home for not wanting to be on social media. Robert Cowton, your team has been rocking it. Keep the momentum rolling. I appreciate you, brother. Sonny Sharma, he is out there. He's a reefer guy, you guys. If you guys need any reefer freight out, proteins in particular, out of Cali, he's your guy. Says the California market has gotten tight and rates are up. Sonny's in the day-to-day, you guys. But hey, that's going to be it. If you guys got value in what you heard today, which I hope you did, and you stuck around this long, and you're not subscribed, subscribe to the show, you guys. If you're feeling ambitious, rank that show on iTunes and Spotify, because if you saw value, your network's going to see it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Came back with a bang, window down, yelling out money, anything. Hey, ooh, got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when I'm getting to the back. Hey, got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when the lane